So we have an example of some kit from our sponsors at Proteus, Sam, and that looks like an everyday consumer unit to me. But what you got over there?
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And it's kind of a bit of a twist on the modern day consumer unit that we all now know from Proteus, which always looks so much nicer than probably any of the other ones on the market. But inside here, it's all been adapted for solar PV installations. So inside here, we've got our main switch and surge, which we're kind of used to in the world of modern day consumer units. But what we've got is we've got a double pole bidirectional RCBO, which obviously Proteus were kind of accidentally famous for, as we've spoken to them before on the podcast. So we've got an RCBO there for solar PV, which we could, I suppose, change that out for an MCB if an RCBO wasn't needed. We've then got a 6 amp MCB in here, which could be used for if you've got any like battery equipment or monitoring equipment that you need to take a little power supply for. A lot of these systems have a little meter or something that you need to power. We've then got a rotary isolator inside there as well for your isolation. And then we've got a little generation meter replacement here as well. So this has got a serial number on it, which is what we need for our MCS certificates. So everything in there in one little handy unit, which is pretty cool.
It is, isn't it? It's the way it's all going, I think, where we're seeing lots of the isolation points. I mean, we've had this discussion about if an MCB of itself is suitable or not, but taking that out of the equation, having the rotary isolator in there that we can lock off, nice and simple. I really like it, and I know from the range Proteus have got, they're also looking to include heat pump breakers and stuff as well, so it's kind of this renewables board. So yeah, I really like those, and if you want to check them out, we'll pop a link in the description over to the Proteus website where you can go and do so. But let's get back to the conversation. Hello and welcome back to the Renewables podcast. We are here again with another exciting episode, but before we get into all of that, how are you doing, Sam?
I'm good. It's been another very busy week, stressful week as they always are, but it's nice to be sat opposite you once again, going through both of our favourite subjects, which is renewables.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. And the episode we've put out today, because it is Thursday while we're recording this, has gone down really well. We've had some good feedback on that one. Don't know if you remember recording it, but it was the chat we did on things that we think are going to improve the industry or come to the industry in the years ahead. And there's been some great comments, actually, so that's nice to see. And if you are watching this, do get involved in that, because we genuinely check them, and it's interesting to see your views as well as just mine and Sam's. But this one today is a little bit self-indulgent, and it was kind of my idea because I'd been on an exciting project last week that I really wanted to talk about, and this will probably be coming out towards the end of the year. It was looking at our favourite install of 2025, so yours at Oval and mine with the team at Powersonic. So yeah, we're going to delve into that. I don't know if you want to kick us off, because you nearly featured on TV, which trumps my project of the year.
Yeah, well, my favourite one was putting a solar PV battery storage and integrating a wind turbine into a Grand Designs project. And it was the first castle to be built in, was it England or was it the UK? I should have prepared my notes. But it's England or the UK. Let's just say the UK for over 100 years. So apparently there was one built in the 1900s or something like that got finished. So yeah, about 100 years ago. So this guy, Piers, who's a fantastic guy, genuinely crackers for doing it, but a really good guy, wanted to prove that firstly you can still build a castle, and you can build a castle with interesting building fabrics. So for example, like the blocks that they used were a mixture between wood chippings and concrete or cement. And it was all mixed together, and it was formed like in big Lego blocks. And so they built the castle based sort of from that. And we installed a really big SIG Energy solar and battery system, and we integrated a Hercules wind turbine that was the first in the UK. And it's almost like a piece of art rather than an actual wind turbine. It's that bougie that you can actually turn it on to spin, so that it looks like a piece of art. So obviously, I'm more interested in it generating the power, but yeah, it was a really interesting one, and he kind of built it. Cause we've just done like a little interview with him for our like Oval YouTube channel, and about what he was trying to prove with it. What was it? And he was just really interested to see, a bit like in the the days when these castles were actually properly being built for defense reasons. If you could build like a modern day castle and have like your internet backed up, have your power backed up, have your water backed up, and all these other things that we like use in the modern day. So he had fiber up to the castle and the surrounding buildings, but he also had Starlink. So he had like two ways of getting his internet. He had pumped water because it's on a hill, it's a castle. He had pumped water from the mains, but he also had, and they found this by chance, but it had its own well. So he has it pumped from his own well as well. And then obviously all the power's backed up by the SIG Energy kit that we've installed. And then he had, a year or so before we were involved, he had solar tiles put on the garage, which is where all of the battery storage and all the main supply comes into. So it's quite interesting trying to get all that working together, because his heating system is also a big, two massive, like commercial sized air source heat pump units, which we haven't installed or wired, but he's actually got 2 3-phase supplies. So he had a 100 amp 3-phase for the castle and a 100 amp 3-phase for the heating system and a couple of car chargers and things like that. So it was crazy because it came in to us from YouTube. So Piers had been watching some of our YouTube stuff, but also we'd closed our inquiries down. This must be like 3 years ago. We closed our inquiries down because we were just flooded. And he emailed and said, I know your inquiries are not, you aren't open for inquiries, but this might be one you want to look at. And I still remember Jess, my wife, ringing me. I think I was on site, saying, and we'd been quite strict with jobs coming through and like giving and still taking them on. And we said, look, if we've closed inquiries, we need to just focus on the jobs we've got, because these people are waiting for pricing, waiting for us to do the installs, and that's that. And then literally, I U-turned so fast when Jess said, we just had that conversation about not taking on any more work. I was like, for God's sake, yeah. So, well, how about doing a Grand Designs castle? I was like, what? And I was like, yeah, all right, this one. We'll do it this once. and yeah, it's just taken a long time to come to where we are now, which the episode went live as of filming now, probably 2 weeks ago, something like that. And we were all tentatively watching it, even lads that work for us were all watching it, tuned in, seeing if we could catch a glimpse of an oval sticker. Unfortunately, it wasn't shown on the TV because they were focusing a lot on actually knocking down the old castle building and building the new one. But apparently they are going to do a revisit, and appears he's angling it more towards having a zero bills castle, which he's hoping to achieve with it all. So yeah, fingers crossed. But that's definitely been my favourite one, because it's been in stages over multiple years, and part of me is glad to see the back of it because it's occupied so much of our sort of working time, and kind of wondering when it was going to actually start and if it was going to actually start and all that sort of stuff. But now it's done, we can kind of look back on it fondly and go, oh, that's such a great experience that, not every company gets the chance to do a Grand Designs job. Even if we weren't featured this time round, it's just that it almost feels like it's just a TV show, and that's is what it is. But it just feels like a bit of a badge of respect, doesn't it? If you're like, oh, you've done a Grand Designs job, that's really cool. And so it was really nice having been able to say that, but also just the experience of been in a castle that I think has cost him 7.5 million to do so far, or something. So.
That's mad. We all watched it. We was leading up to maybe you were going to be on the telly, and maybe you wasn't. Me, Matty, and Nathan, all in our own houses watching it, messaging each other. Laura was sat watching it with me, and we were like really hoping that it was going to feature. But I think they left it at the end very much that they are going to come back and look at all that. They kind of finished it up that mentioning about the batteries, didn't they, without really showing them. It's very naughty of them, if you ask me. But it looked really, really interesting, that one. And like you say, it's not the kind of opportunity that it presents itself every day. So no surprise you bent your own rules and jumped on it. And, the considerations around all of that, got the pressure of working on a Grand Design project. And I imagine it's chaos outside the cameras actually rolling. and then kind of the worry of how that presents on screen because it's editing outside your control at the end of the day. Are they going to turn around and start bashing renewables? It's unlikely, but it's something that could happen. And then the kind of delivery on it, because I remember from your conversation, I think on one of your stories, with the weight of the batteries in, was it the garage or wherever the main bulk of the kit was, that you had to site some of the other batteries away from that just because of the volume of weight of all the kit. So it must have been a minefield and a half to get your way through that.
It was really tricky because obviously you price it based on a certain amount of knowledge of where stuff's going to go. And originally all the batteries were going to go in this garage, but the issue with this garage was that because the castle's on a hill, there's actually garages underneath this garage. So it's on like a bison beam floor, which is like concrete beams with concrete blocks slid in. And they weren't happy with us putting the batteries anywhere other than around the edges of the room. And then when I actually sent the weights of each battery, they were like, there's no way that you're, one, fitting all of that in that garage, but two, that I'm not happy with that weight being above, the neighbour's Tesla. So a lot of SIG energy batteries, stacked on top of a Tesla one morning. So they made the decision to move some of them down into the cellar. But what's difficult with this sort of job is you price it, they say they want to go ahead, which is great, and you're over the moon, and then they change the spec, and you kind of like, now we've got two batteries that are about 30 metres away from where they originally were, and we now need two circuits going all the way down from this garage through ducting into the cellar of this castle, and you're kind of like, I've got to increase my price, but then you don't want to lose the job as well. So it's kind of this, it's a bit like that on pricing. It doesn't have to be a grand designer's job. It could just be a job you really want, on a smaller scale or a bigger scale. And you're kind of like, I really want this job though. I've kind of already said to myself, we're going to do it and all of that. And you're kind of like, but I don't want to do it and not make anything. And so that was a bit of kind of ping pong, trying to make sure that we weren't overpricing it, but we weren't losing out on it as well. So, but yeah, it all came together, and it was quite interesting. One of the issues we had was it all being on the same internet connection as well. So obviously, SIG Energy have got that thing where for ease of installation, it all just finds itself on the same internet connection. So we had a bit of a nightmare sorting that because we had to get on the same internet connection. They had to kind of shield two connections from each other so that it looked like to the SIG Energy batteries they were on separate internet connections. So the stuff like that, and you have got the pressure of, right, they're coming next week to do the filming, and you get an email at 10:30 on a Friday night, and like, right, they're coming next Thursday to do the filming. Can you come next week to finish the batteries off so that if they get featured, the batteries are all done and dusted. You're like, I'm in Scotland next week. What are we going to do? And all of that kind of running about, and that's the bit that I won't really miss, is the pressure of having that possibility of, it being game changing for your company, being on TV, and hopefully it's well received and people like the standard of work and there's no one kind of cribbing it. But I won't miss that kind of, right, it needs to be done by next week. And you're like, I haven't got any time to do it. But it was really, really cool to be part of it. And they were all just, it was a classic grand design's job where it's kind of like, yeah, I think this will work. And you're like, they're putting a roof on a castle. I'm like, think this will work? Or all the windows, all the openings were cut the wrong size. So they had to be manufacturing like the window openings. You're like, how hasn't this been done? Like, how hasn't this been properly measured? It's a castle. It's 7.5 million or whatever. Like, surely someone's got a tape measure between them. It's just, but that's what you see when you watch grand designs, isn't it? You see them making these kinds of mistakes or oversights, and you just wonder if you'd actually get away with that on a normal build. I just don't think you would.
You see, I think it's that one where they had the telehandler lifting up like £5,000 worth of glass through a window, and you're just like, "Jeez, it's making me nervous watching them doing it." But it just generally does boil down to some guy in a truck getting stuff done at the end of the day, or a group of solar installers in the mud trying to get cables through where they were never intended to be, and it just makes it work, doesn't it? And I think did his company go bust? Who made those blocks or something as well? From watching, he had to get them somewhere else.
Yeah, so the concrete block manufacturer, I think was it Ireland or somewhere. He was getting them from originally. I can't remember. I might be mistaken now, but they placed an order for them, but then this company just went bust. I think it was Italy. They ended up having to get them, and they were basically exactly the same. So that was good. But it's all those delays and that extra money and everything. And it's when you're building something to that scale, one cock up can be, hundreds of thousands of pounds. Like if that glass had come down, like you say, that's £5,000 just on one pallet. And there's so many windows in that place. You're like, it's not going to take many, issues to suddenly be just burning through money. I think he said on the Grand Designs on the actual show, something like £100,000 a week or something they were spending. It's just
mad, isn't it?
I don't think I'd ever sleep if I was spending that.
Nah, I mean, it puts the little extensions we might consider on modest terms like ours into context. Well, you've got that going on.
I've got mine going on, yeah.
It's like a whole different world of construction, and the fact you've done it as your business. I mean, if you didn't get mentioned in the TV show, that's here and there. I think it's still something that is going to help you market yourself forward, and you never know. Kevin, when he's on his next project, might say, "I know some good solar installers," and start recommending you off to get him on commission or something. See if he can get you in.
Try and get him on the
doors.
podcast.
We could try that, couldn't we? We could hustle him up onto the podcast. But no, it looked really, really interesting one. That I was certainly intrigued by what you were up to, and pleased for you as well. And here's hoping for part 2 when you do feature, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it doing that kind of work as well. Because I often say this to Matty and Nathan when we get interesting stuff come up that it's in normal. I've done this job like 25 odd years, and some of these projects isn't stuff run-of-the-mill electricians day to day getting to do all the time. Working on Grand Designs is a good example of that. It's not, and if like the DIY SOS things come up that people get involved with, or community things like that are going on, or a big project on a stately home or something, and you're lucky enough to be chosen, it's really stressful while you're doing it, but try and enjoy it, because it might only happen once in 30, 40 years of grafting. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think even taking it back another notch, it doesn't even have to be like, those like big community projects. Like I remember myself and Ollie doing our first ever solar PV job as Oval Renewables, and standing looking at this, and it was a re-roofed job. It was an in-roof Viridian, so it was like a baptism of fire, because they're not simple to do, certainly as your first job. And I'm looking at this roof and this scaffolding up, and this customer's bought, has paid me money, and I'm looking at this job and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope I get this right. And we must have had the panels on and off trying to get them square. And now you don't really bat we don't really bat an eyelid at doing that type of job now, but it was so stressful trying to get that done right, looking good. And then when I remember going back to it, when the scaffolding had come down, the roofer had tiled it all in, and just looking at it thinking, we did it. We've done it. And suddenly all of those stresses of getting them square and everything just disappear, because you look at it and you go, wow, we've done that. And I remember the first EV charger we did, and that was like the Zappi V1, something like that. And you kind of plug it in, and then this Nissan Leaf, as most of them were at the time, is then suddenly charging. You think, I'm adding electricity into this brand new electric car. That's so cool. And I think you can end up getting a bit blind to these sort of mini achievements, or even, for us, they were big achievements at the time. And, so people that are watching and listening to this, like, it's just those little steps, isn't it? Those little steps every single day, and not taking for granted. I'm a massive hypocrite here, because I do this myself, but not taking for granted those little wins you get and those little new opportunities you get, where you think, oh, that's a bit different, or that's a new technology for us. We've got our very first heat pump coming up, where it's kind of really going to be down to us to do it. And you think, oh God, how am I going to do this? And then suddenly it'll be like, after that, it's like, yeah, cool, we did it. And we'll be able to look back and have that energy that actually we've installed and commissioned this heat pump and it's now heating this home just based on the electricity. There's a battery on that job as well, so the battery will be discharging cheap electricity to it and getting all this stuff to work. And you kind of think that's so cool, and I'm so lucky and privileged to be getting these jobs and to be completing these jobs and to be working within my passion. And that's not something to just be kind of discounted. I think that's a really powerful thing, and many people don't get that opportunity to work in their passion because of money and all the rest of it. And I think we do just need to take a step back sometimes and go, what's really valuable, and the fact that you can, yes, have stresses in a job, but it be a job that you've chosen and that is part of your passion. I think that's something not to be overlooked, really.
Definitely. We do get complacent with what we're doing. Maybe not complacent, but get used to it day to day. And I guess it's like a sports team like Liverpool of today's world who were just winning all the time. So when they win next week, it's, we've won again. But that first time they win a title or whatever, it's the best thing that's ever happened, and you're so excited about it. And same as you with our first solar system, it was on the mother-in-law's house. She's got way too many hooks in that roof than she ever needs. But we were like so determined that this was going to be absolutely bomb-proof. We didn't want to do anything that would even borderline to the minimum spec. Probably had a hook in for every bloody rafter, I think, by the
Every
time
600.
It pretty much was, I think, mate. But yeah, and when you stand back and it's finished and the sunshine turns on and the meter stops, and you're just like, actually, we can do this. It's just kind of a confidence thing. I think that I've not done it before, and make a best effort to research stuff and do it right. But until you've actually got through that first one, you don't realise. And then today, now 3, maybe getting on 4 years later, we're knocking these out every week and not even thinking about it, not even looking back to think, well, this is actually pretty cool what we're doing. Another one today with Matty, we were putting the panels on and we were looking at this roof because it's like an old building. Ridge was all over the place. The gutter line wasn't straight. The edges were all over. It's like, what we're going to pick as our bit to work from for the panels? It's like, well, we might as well pick something and just run with that. So we picked the gutter in the end. We're getting all the way along here, and he's like, we could have picked what we wanted. It doesn't really matter, does it? But I think if we'd been doing that as our first job, we'd have probably been having them panels on off maybe about 10, 15 times. It's just experience, I suppose, as well as complacency maybe building into the team of things. So yeah, it's exciting. Like, where I wouldn't say it's my real passion point, like I know it is for you, being involved in this industry. It's what you've always wanted to do. I know you're really interested in it privately as well, and maybe not to that level of my interest, but I do really like it, and it's certainly reinvigorated my determination, if you want, to stay in this industry a bit longer than I was going to, certainly on the tools. So yeah, it's an exciting career prospect, and if you are out there entering into it, getting into your first install, don't be too afraid of it, but take it seriously, and it becomes second nature in time.
Yeah, it does absolutely, and it's ever changing, and it's just exciting from start to finish. And there's a bit of a boom at the minute, and we've had some conversations around the struggles of keeping the jobs coming in that type of industry where pricing is quite toxic and very strained and what have you. It's not easy to do it, but when we do win those jobs, I do get a bit of excitement that we've got another job coming up where we can make a massive difference to that home or that business and their running costs, and it never ever gets old turning that system on, and suddenly you see a couple of kilowatt being drawn from the grid, you turn it on, and then the meter is just dead, and the system is generating power, storing power, or discharging power, the car's charging, all these other sorts of things. You think, wow, this is so cool. And I've been doing it since I was 16, and I've never got bored of that. Never got bored of it. It's so cool. So when you see a castle go off grid, you think, the peasants can be running up the drive with their pitchforks and their flaming torches, and he could just bring the drawbridge up and it'd be all right. But yeah, it was so cool with that project, and one that none of us will forget. And we're hoping to do some more stuff there with some more solar, and it's like Piers has caught the bug, but it's on a different scale. It's like caught the bug. So yeah, hopefully we can keep adding to his system and see it just go from strength to strength, because there's not an awful lot of load in that property at the minute because it's still being built. It's a bit of a shell. So I'm looking forward to to seeing that come to life. They lost L2 on one of their phases on the castle yesterday. So I got a message on a WhatsApp chat to say, the castle's gone into backup mode. And he only knew because his app had told him that he was now on backup mode. And it came up with phase B has gone into as voltage, under voltage or something like that. So the on-site electricians tested it and he'd lost L2. So National Grid came up and he hadn't actually messaged to say it's sorted yet, but the system was there and he didn't even know the power had gone off, and the castle's got lights in it, whilst they're working, and the guys are using tools and, drills and all sorts of other things. And the castle was still able to be built because that system was there. So it's even cool, just even when the castle isn't finished, for it to be able to continue to progress now that they've got this backup system. And that only just reinforced his love for the system, even though he's not living there, because he could see it working. And I was so proud that I could go, Gateway's doing its thing. And he was like, oh, it's unbelievable. It's fantastic. So it's really cool. And like I say, one that none of us will forget. But yeah, you've what's your favourite one then of 2025?
It's the install itself was pretty similar to lots of what we do week to week, but this one was special because of the kind of community aspect around what we were doing. So I think it's probably a year ago, I first had a conversation with Corey, OY Electrical, about doing a kind of community-led installation for an electrician who had been off work for quite a long period of time. And, we'd done crowdfunding to try and support them and their family because not able to work for a few years and take a bit of the strain and pressure away while they were recovering. And we had this idea that if we could take their energy bills away, that would be a more long-lasting benefit to them where they are going to be off work for a substantial period. So we were kind of batting that around between me and Corey of how we would make that work, maybe for 2 or 3 months. And I was just like, right, we need to commit to this and go out into the industry and see if other people want to support us. It might just be that we get the installers to get involved and do it for free, and we have to kind of crowdfund for the kit or whatever. And yeah, we popped it out, I think it's maybe March time. The reaction we had from brands of industry and other installers was crazy. Like, we had donations coming in. We were oversubscribed. We could have panelled the whole street in the end, I think, with people wanting to support what we were doing, which was really, really nice. But yeah, fundamentally, we managed to get, I think it's 26 panels, the first Give Energy All-in-One 2 and Gateway in the UK, a fleet of installers, PV Ultra from Donny Cables. Even the scaffolding was provided by Alpine Scaffolding. Don't know if you've used them before, but kudos to those guys.
Legends.
Yeah, EV charger as well. We had Dave O'Savo and Linda there. Magic Mike was there on the install team. Dan from DMH, Corey was there doing his stuff in only the way he can with the sub-mains. We gave him the worst job, actually, because he had to sort out the meter cabinet, which was a bit of a mess. But he did his magic on that. And yeah, we turned it around in a day. So it was this kind of whole chaos that I seemed to end up organising. I don't know why that fell into my lap, like organising all the materials, the G99s, the MCS and paperwork afterwards, and everyone turning up onto site. And similar sort of thing, I guess, to maybe your experience with the Grand Designs, that underneath what is a great end result, there is a lot of chaos happening that maybe other people don't always see. And, we had a survey that never got done on Dan's house, the person we fitted this for, because he was sending videos and pictures, and because it wasn't like any of our primary installs, this community, we should really have done a survey. We all said this afterwards. Why we didn't was stupid. But we never thoroughly investigated his roof as much as we should. We just knew it was constructed in the year 2000. It's like, it'd be all right. Turned out it wasn't. And we had to replace the ridge for a dry ridge while we were there because that was shot. And the tiles were a really thin, weird bed that none of us had ever seen them before. Even Magic had not seen these particular tiles before. So that caused us a bit of an issue. But I think it made it more fun. I want to say it made it more fun in overcoming those things, like rushing around, trying to find some tiles. We had the wholesalers turn up on the morning as well, bringing I think they brought some 30 McDonald's breakfasts, which really made Nathan's morning, I've got to say, because there weren't that many people there to eat all of them. It was just a really good atmosphere, people coming together, wanting to help an electrician out who was unwell. And we had the exciting part of the kit, So obviously the first Give Energy All-in-One 2. I'm a big fan of Give Energy. They have had issues with their customer support, which they've acknowledged, and we've all felt that as installers. It hasn't been good enough. And I think they've suffered the growing pains of a company in the UK emerging in the way they did. And it feels like, we were talking before recording, but it does feel like they've overcome them and they've got a really good set of products, not just the All-in-One 2. But I'm always interested in their kit. So it was really nice to see that as a geek and like investigate that and how the gateway works and everything. And then just kind of working with your heroes. Like David Savory is one of my heroes of the internet. He's the reason, him and Nick Bundy, actually, why I even started making YouTube videos. I thought if that boring old, what can do it, I can certainly do it. So that was really nice. And it's really interesting, stressful, but rewarding thing to do. And Dan has sent me a message today to say he's generated, I think it was 18 units. It's been a really sunny day today. It is the middle of November, but 18 units of electricity in mid-November from this system we've put on his house. He's not had to fill his battery up overnight last night. He's run his whole home for nothing. He's load shifting his EV vehicle. He's not been able to charge at home since he got that. And now he can do that for lower cost overnight. So his bills are falling. Free power. The idea is the net effect over the course of a full year is he doesn't have any energy bills. Obviously in winter he's still going to be paying, but the perks of selling through summer, that should hopefully take that stress and worry away for him while he gets himself hopefully back to 100% health. But yeah, it's just a really interesting one. It's something that isn't going to happen very often. It's certainly not something I don't think we would repeat in the same way ever again. But we will be doing other projects like that. I think everyone's got a bit of a thirst for it. And it just shows that when we put our minds to it, for all the stuff that kicks off on social media, and I play a part in this when stuff flares up around outdoor consumer units and singles in meter cabinets, it's all really interesting. It gets a bit heated. That fundamentally most people who are online want to do nice things and will help each other out. And we certainly saw that on that project. And that's why that was my favourite one of this last year.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's so cool to be part of. And I think what's really good about that one is there's a really personal effect that it's going to have on that family. Suddenly from going from, I don't know what they were spending, but, for a lot of people, it's a couple of £100 a month on electricity and gas and all the rest of it. To suddenly try and wipe that out for somebody is really powerful. And I think one thing that when I speak to customers of ours that obviously aren't getting it for free, but when I say to them, look, you're spending 15 grand on this system, and you can try and you can try and calculate a payback, and it's a very hard thing to do now when you bring in that load shifting and and the different ways that you're going to use the electricity in your house, like powering your car, and do you take that out of your calculation because that's you're saving on your diesel or your petrol, and all this sort of convoluted way of trying to calculate a payback time for this sort of thing. When you actually boil it down, the power of just removing that 100, 200, 300 pounds a month from your electricity bill, whether or not you've paid for it or not, which most people obviously are paying for their system, is such a relief on your mind. So if work isn't going very well, you lose your job, you become ill, like you did or is, suddenly not to have that burden of knowing if you're gonna have enough for the electricity and getting into debt and all these like little micro worries that you can have. I think if you can remove that through having a system like a solar PV and battery storage system, is so powerful. And it's a nightmare to try and get people to realise that beforehand. But that's been some of the feedback that we've had on systems that we've fitted, is getting rid of that monthly fee is it's almost like liberating. And I can only imagine what that's done for his kind of family's mindset in terms of, wow, we've now got this system that is reducing our electricity bill, is removing our electricity bill, and potentially even giving us credit back onto our meter because we are selling power back to the grid for 15p, whatever it is that they're selling it for. And annually, we are saving a couple of grand in electricity. Like that is so powerful. And so all credit to you all for doing it. how you kept your head with that many YouTube sensations in one place. I don't know, but like we've just been saying about the Grand Designs one, you can look back on it now and know that you've done something really powerful to help Dan and his family, and I think that's so good. And I bet that felt good leaving him with that.
It did. And when Dan from DMH is asking me, where the hell did these solar panels come from? They weigh a ton. It's like, they were provided by a wholesaler for free, mate. Suck it up and get them up on there. The Canadian solars, I don't know if you've ever installed them, but they do seem to weigh those extra 2 kilos. You really notice them when you're dragging a panel around the roof. But the 470 watts each, absolute beasts. And HDM Solar provided those, and they're kicking out such a lot of power. I was very impressed with his generation from today. I was surprised to see it as high as it was, if I'm being honest. But you know, the stats don't lie, and you know, it's good for him to see that and have a sunny day in winter. I don't think we're going to get too many more now through till spring, so it's going to be a rarity. But yeah, to have that for Dan and his family and everyone coming together doing it, I thought it was very humbling to be part of, to be honest. Just people wanting to help someone else. Massive national, international companies like Rexel. Well, why would there really be even that fussed? And, you know, straight away they were wanting to do that. I thought it was really nice. And Donny Cables as well. So I'll forget people now, but we have got content coming around it. Corey's got a video coming out which is focusing on raising money for, I think it's Cancer Research UK, where all the money he makes through his YouTube stuff is going to go towards that as well, covering not the install, but kind of the community aspect around what happened and why people were there, because there was some interesting stories around that and people's experiences of cancer and stuff as well. So it was a really powerful experience. And at the time, while you're delivering that, stressful, because you'd think many hands make light work until there is so many hands you're tripping over each other. Like, we all have so many tools and we all like to work with our own tools. Dan's drive was like some dodgy car boot sale that you'd walk around full of kit and people tripping over each other. It was hectic, but stuff got done and we finished in the dark. I'd been such a long and tiring day. I'm there at the DC isolators shouting out the garage door to Matthew, there's no voltage, it's not working. He's like, well, there won't be, it's dark. It's just like, jeez, yeah, you're dead right. I did not even think of that. So yeah, it just showed what a long and stressful day that had been. But I loved it. Really good experience, and definitely look to do it again. I think, like you just said, that's the thing with customers. You know, for Dan and his family, there's the benefit while he's not able to work and he's unwell. But just for myself and my system, not having that ongoing bill from electricity is amazing. And the gas bill is almost paid for as well through the export that we build up over the summer. So we're not really spending a great deal on our bills, and none of those are really factored into the proposals we make to customers, especially with load shifting on batteries, because it's virtually impossible to do that. You don't know what tariff they're going to move to. We've spoke about that before on the podcast. So my payback on my system, paying full market rates for it, is ridiculously quick when all of that is factored in, and it's just that ongoing expense not reappearing every month. And I guess it's like if you lease a car or something, and then all of a sudden you get the bulk of money together and you just buy a car and you're not paying that month to month. Yeah, you've taken a significant dip in maybe your savings or whatever, but fundamentally you've got that cash flow every month that you're not having to fork out and worry about. And I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done it years before we did, to be fair, because we've only had solar on our house now 3 years since we started, actually, because that was one of the jobs we did in our MCS process to be with everybody. But yeah, I think it's one of those where you look at the kit and you're waiting to get started with it because you want the next bit that's coming down the road. And really the big excitement is your bills going away rather than what kit you've got screwed to a wall. And the sooner you start, the sooner you're saving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going through that at the minute. At my house, I've had to take all the solar off, or majority of the solar, probably 80% of the solar off, because of where I'm getting a new roof on the back of the property. And it was the fact that the roof wasn't in the greatest condition that prevented me fitting solar to my own house for a long time, because I was thinking, well, I'm going to get the roof done, so I'll do it at the same time. And then it was as all the energy tariffs went through the roof, I thought, I've been stupid not to just get it on. So we put it on, and I'd have only put it on my own roof. Like if a customer's roof was in that condition, I wouldn't have done it. But I've had to take it all off the other week, whilst they redo the back of the roof and do some roof alterations. I'm taking these panels off and they're 400 watts. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if just to put some 450s back on here. And you're kind of like, but then what am I going to do with these 400s? And I'm thinking, Mark's got enough stuff for his for his training centre. And, you know, that system has been working fantastically for us, and it's produced more than we could ever handle. And so I'm just going to put the 400s back on. But it's it's interesting how much of a difference even you know, people that are in the industry like ourselves all the time, how much and how excited you get over your own system, even though you're doing it day in, day out. But one thing that I was interested in with your projects, Mark, was what. So you mentioned about the tiles that were, you know, that you hadn't seen before and that they were thin and the ridge that you redo. But what were was there any other challenges? I seem to remember you mentioning about the panels changed or something, and the string voltage went up because the Canadians have got a high voltage, haven't they?
They have, yeah. So originally, I'd asked for JA solars, and that was so we could have just 2 strings on the roof. There's like an east-west split. So the idea was 2 strings. I think it was 13 panels, which was still maxing out the MPPT, but it was within tolerance with the JAs. And unfortunately, HDM Solar, in fairness to them, they were trying to give us a more powerful panel. So they were 440, 450 watts, and these ended up being 470s. And I was just like, great, that's fantastic. But I never really delved into the data sheet until about a week before they were being delivered, when you realise they're 53 volts each, and all of a sudden we need an extra string up there. And you know, it's the 30-metre cable run. It's not a big expense, but it's the labour getting it up there, dragging it across, and all the rest of it. 1 4-core PV Ultra is a lot easier than 2. Yeah, so that did make the cogs of your brain start thinking. And when it's your own projects, they're easy things to miss anyway. But when it's kind of this community thing, and it maybe wasn't delegated as well as it should have been, to be fair, and stuff like that maybe did slip through the net. But you learn these lessons, don't you, as you take these things on, and next time we'll have all of those things ironed out a bit better than we did this first time around. Maybe I'll put Dan in charge at DNH. He might know a bit more of what he's doing. I can moan at him this time instead of him moan at me.
Yeah, but I think that's it. It's like when you see these DIY SOS projects and there's just so many bodies on site, and I'm just thinking, that's like my worst nightmare. Like, not to be in control of, like, this is how exactly it's going to go. You need to do this now. You need to do that now. Let me have a look. Is that right? And having all these people there. But you had some really, you know, you had people that you would trust with any job on that site. It's, it looked like a real combination of expertise coming together on that. But it's interesting, you know, these big jobs, and you get these kind of things that come at you sideways. Like we had on our one, I tested these tiles, these solar tiles on this garage. I tested them when we originally put the DC isolators in, just to make sure that we got the polarity correct and everything like that. And as soon as I tested them, I was getting 300 and whatever volts. I said, oh, yep, sound, that's great, that works out. And then then later on, I think the next day, I was testing them properly for my DC test certificate. I tested them, I was getting nothing on string number 2. Thinking, I literally tested this yesterday. I know this is correct. And I had to take apart all of the wiring that I'd put in, because I had to extend the cables that they brought through the roof. I was thinking, well, the MC4s has failed, the isolator's failed. So stripping it all the way back, even cut the MC4s off the we only had about 100 mil of cable poking through the roof. Cut the MC4s, and that's like, must be. And I had nothing, not one little volt on that string. I'm thinking, I know for a fact that I had voltage on this. And then suddenly it's like, well, what have you done? What have you done? What have you done for this? And I'm thinking, I've not done anything. Like, I've literally just connected it up. So when we returned, they got onto the roof and basically had to keep splitting that string down, and we kept retesting it. We made a flying lead, retesting it, and we managed to find it was one of these solar tiles that had failed. I'm thinking, I didn't even insulation resistance test this on my first go, because I was just making sure polarity was right. How has this just gone in between now and yesterday when I tested it? And luckily they had a few spares, so they put that one in, and then it's tested out absolutely fine afterwards. But you have all these little challenges on, and it always seems to be on the really big projects, doesn't it? And or the ones that are high stress, and you think, why could this VOC not be, 39 volts or whatever. Why did it have to be 53? But yeah, we've used the Canadians on a few projects where we've been really struggling to hit that minimum voltage, and yeah, for whatever reason, they're a much higher string voltage, aren't they? And yeah, I've been nearly been caught out a few times on that.
Yeah, we have with the Trina bifacials that we use are similar. They're like 50 volts, I think, and you can just get into a habit of using the same panel time and time again and not take full consideration of that. It's just so easy to do, and when you're relying on software picking these things up that maybe doesn't always flag as well, can easily catch you out. And that's one of the things that put me off the solar tiles as a whole. It's the number of connectors and the points of failure that you might have in that, rather than being one big panel that's going to go wrong and fairly easy with an optimizer to find out where it is. You've got like a roof full of these things, and it's like, Jesus Christ, where do you even start when that's gone wrong? So that's one of the things that's always made me think, maybe not quite there yet in terms of the technology maybe, and your experience of it there is one of the things that was worrying me about them.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of them, to be honest, because you don't really get much output. Each one of these tiles was 60 watts, but it was about a metre in width by about 300 mil. So you're just taking up so much roof space. They also look like solar panels, so it's not even like they're totally disguised. They're just like long, thin solar panels. So I'm not a massive fan of them. And yeah, that was just one of them quirks of a project. But it would have been such a nice one to put a nice big Viridian in roof system or something like that. But we weren't involved at that point, so we couldn't advise. But yeah, it was a really interesting project, and it's kind of like we said earlier on in this podcast, it's not always about the notoriety of it, being on TV and all the rest of it. It's about what that person gets to the end of it, and I'm sure that Castle will value, having the solar PV and the battery and the wind and all of that, but I doubt that they'll value that more than what Dan will and his family will, for having a system that will be basically removing his electricity and maybe potentially most of his gas bill through the export for that system. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing that when everyone comes together and we aren't shouting at each other on Instagram because of the way that someone's commented on a video or whatever else. It's amazing when all the heads come together, what you can do, and to do all that in a day is good, because even though you got a lot of people, it's managing those people to actually get it over the line. I'm sure each person on there was trying to do their own content as well and everything. It's trying to balance all of that. It sounds like an absolute bun fight to try and get it to the end result.
Yeah, I think some of the solar installers among us had to rein ourselves in a bit, because you get into work mode and you're just like, right, we need to do this. But it's giving everyone room to help Dan as well. There were people who were just coming because they wanted to show support and help to Dan. So it's like we need to kind of allow that to happen as well, rather than just take over this entire project and try and button it up in 4 or 5 hours because we know we could. So it's kind of stepping back a little bit as well to make sure that can be a thing. And yeah, it was a really interesting one. We absolutely loved doing it. Nathan, we didn't see most of the day because he was up on the roof like an absolute trooper. That kid's a machine, to be fair, when he gets going. He was like, where is he? He's just, it saved coming up and down the ladders, didn't it? So he was just up there non-stop, bless him. So yeah, full credit to him as well. I don't think he features in a lot of the content. Maybe that's why he was up there, because he hates being on video, to be fair. But yeah, really, really interesting one. And if you've got kind of installs, you watching this now, that you want to share with us, drop them in the comments. It'd be great to hear about what your favourite install of the year was, or tag us in a post on social media, of what you've been proud of, what's been a big success for you and your companies. I'd certainly love to see that. Otherwise, I'm quite happy I've covered my side of that on this chat. Sam, I don't know if you've got anything else you want to add.
No, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, tag the Renewables podcast into your installs that you are you're most proud of in 2025, and it doesn't have to be a massive, great big project, loads of money. It can be the difference that you made to Mrs. Smith because she was struggling with electricity bills, or just really proud of how the battery system and solar system came out in the garage, or it might be a massive commercial one, and it doesn't really matter. What
Your
makes
first one even, couldn't it?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, if you just started and it's the first one you've ever done, or the first one of a specific brand that you've always wanted to fit, anything like that, just tag us in it, and we'd love to get that and have a look at it. and then maybe even invite you on to have a chat. Might be quite an interesting one on how you found it and what have you. But yeah, I've covered off my Grand Designs one. I'm sure we'll be talking about it again if it comes onto the TV. I might try and just conveniently be passing when Kevin's on his way up there, and just I've just come in to do a bit of a service here, Kev. Sorry, yeah, and just have my oval hat on and everything. But no, that's covered everything off on my side. So yeah, just a massive thanks for myself and Matt for coming and listening to another episode of the Renewables Podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel or listening on Spotify or wherever it is that you're listening, then please do. It helps us grow. And also recommend us to friends and family that might be interested in a bit of company on a long journey, maybe down to the next job. Thanks very much again, and we'll see you on the next one.